Bern Tobin here at Canada's Outdoor Farm Show, over at the tillage demonstration again with Pat Lynch this year. Pat, how's it going this year?
Great.
You are tilling cover crops. What are you
We
up
are
to?
killing cover crops. We are killing cover crops. Farmers will kill cover crops. They'll either use herbicides or they'll use tillage. Now, what we're trying to show here is that you don't have to have the moldboard plow. You know, we introduced cover crops a number of years ago, and then I remember seeing farmers going out moldboard plowing them, and then 2 or 3 secondary. So the organic matter we put back in there, now we've destroyed it. So the idea with a cover crop, put the cover crop on, get the benefit, and farmers like tillage. So we are doing tillage to leave at least 30% residue on top. But I and many others and the equipment companies in our time about, they want to get some of that organic matter incorporated into the top 2 to 4 inches. And I think that's very valuable. If we have that organic matter in the top 2 or 4 inches, it's going to be gradually breaking down. And now we have a real alive, active soil. And as that organic matter breaks down, it's amazing the other things you do. Now, if you leave it on top of the ground, the organic matter stays there and it is going to break down. I want it breaking down in the soil. Now, as that organic matter breaks down in the soil, now you've got root channels for the next crop to grow down. And there is philosophical and scientific arguments which is better. I want that organic matter mixed in the topsoil. I don't want the soil bare. I don't want it brown. I want it green. I want, you know, probably this time of year, a minimum of 50% residue cover so that we get into the springtime. And then we'll have at least 30%. Now, the other thing with cover crops is they greatly reduce the amount of weed seed, but we have to get rid of them. And the other thing we are finding is that tillage helps control weeds, especially the perennial weeds. So if we do some tillage and work the cover crop in and do weed control, we've got the best of many worlds all operating here.
How important is termination, Pat? I mean,
that is a constant discussion. For me, you know, I've come through the no-till and I want it dead. Like, one of the first things we learned in the 70s introducing no-till was the even start. We want to have it dead. Now, if you're doing crimping, say cereal rye, and putting in soybeans and doing a trash, that's different. But for early planted crops, you know, like corn, like alfalfa, I want all that residue dead. I want an even start. I don't want anything growing when I get that crop going early in the spring. So it's important to get rid of, you know, not in my mind to have anything growing. And again, I'm basing it on my experience working with growers for a lot of years. I don't want anything growing.
Talk about the equipment we've just seen here, Pat. You've got about 12, 14 different machines here with all kinds of things they can do and all kinds of features and benefits. How do you approach this?
Okay, so 15 pieces of equipment, and of those 15 pieces, there are so many different options and settings. You know, the type of disc, you know, whether it's notch, whether it's not notch, you know, the rolling basket, the harrows behind it, how you set it up. My thing is that we wanted all these pieces of equipment in the field so farmers could see them. And sometimes farmers come to see how a piece of equipment they already bought works somebody else. But the reality is that not all of these pieces of equipment are within travel distance of most, if not all, farmers. So they've got to decide. So to me, what is important is to be working with an equipment dealer that you like, that you can count on, that you can work with. So if you see a piece of equipment here and your dealer is selling it, then that's who you work with. If you see a piece of equipment that you see here, you know, whether it's the Pottinger or the Lemkin or the John Deere, and you go to your dealer, you know what, I really like what that Pottinger is doing. I know you don't sell it, but what do you sell that does the same type of thing as that Lemkin or the Curse Buster does? So I want a piece of equipment like that. So to me, the end result is, you know, work with your local ag equipment dealer and see what they're carrying.
Final question for you. When farmers till cover crops, you see a lot of it. Where do they go wrong? Where are some of the challenges? Where can they be better?
Okay, that is simple. Too much tillage. You know, too much tillage. And sometimes tillage becomes something for somebody to do. Either my dad, my uncle, the neighbor, the hired man. Well, you know what, just go and work that field again. But I already worked it. That's okay, I'll give you something to do. So too much tillage would be number one. Tillage without a purpose. Every tillage trip must have a purpose. What am I doing? You know, am I getting rid of cover crop? Am I burying residue? Am I preparing a seed bed? Every tillage trip must have it. And I know you said I only had one, but one last thing. Farmers don't have to buy every one of these pieces of equipment. Many dealers will rent them because the reality is we got a long window of time to use them, and there's a lot of money there. So you can either rent the piece of equipment by the hour, by the acre, or there are so many pieces of equipment around now, you can have somebody come in and do custom, conservation tillage for you.
Great stuff, Pat. Always great to catch up with you here at the Farm Show.
Good to be here, Bern. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.